Chapter 3, the contract and closing process on the purchase of a home in Antigua. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the following: the contract, the closing through an attorney, wiring money, getting an inspection, getting a tax ID number, also known as a NIT, N-I-T, opening a bank account, and getting a DPI, which is a national ID card. In this chapter, I'm going to talk about the whole process that's involved in the purchase of a home in Antigua, Guatemala. Along the way, I'll try to make comparisons of how it's done in the U.S., assuming that most people looking at this video who are looking to make a move will have at some point in the U.S. purchased a home. A Texas real estate contract is around 8 pages. The contract in Guatemala is basically 1 page. My main concern was to work through a reputable broker and an attorney to make sure the title was clear and I wasn't going to get scammed. I don't think you'll have that problem going through a traditional brokerage firm. As I stated in the previous chapter, I met with RE/MAX, Century 21, and No Antigua. My friend, Aníbal, has a cousin who is an attorney in Antigua, Dina Patricia Vides Rosales de Roche. In addition to the brokerage house checking for clear title on the property, that's also part of the attorney's job. Once everything is in order, documents are written up and closing is scheduled. It's very efficient and fast. But I needed to wire money for the earnest money. This is very critical, and as an agent in Texas, we always emphasize the importance of making sure the wire account information is correct. No Antigua suggested that I wire $5 to make sure the money arrived in that account. You don't want to send thousands of dollars wired to an account that's not correct. Once they received the $5, I was able to send over the 5% earnest money deposit. With my real estate background, I felt uneasy about not having a seller's disclosure, which is very common in the States, or at least in Texas. A seller's disclosure is basically a document signed by the seller regarding everything in the house, from AC, roof, plumbing, foundation, etc., if they have it and if they're aware of any defects or not. This provides some sort of recourse to the buyer if the seller deliberately lies about a hidden defect. This does not exist in Guatemala, at least as a standard document with the agents I spoke with. In addition, as an agent, we always recommend to our purchasing clients to get an inspection. The inspection is twofold. It gives you an independent, professional's eye view of all the details of the house. If something is found, then you have so many days to go back to the seller and either get out of the contract or renegotiate the price if something needs to be fixed, or have the seller fix it before closing. Fortunately, my friend sent over both an electrician and a plumber to do a visual inspection. In this case, there was very limited amount they could do, as the plumbing and electrical were in the house, but they're not yet connected to city water or to an electric meter. But they were both quite reasonable, about $40 in US dollars. The fact that a third non-interested party went in and kind of gives you peace of mind during the purchase process. It's well worth it. We were all scheduled to close when the attorney asked me for my NIT number, which is the tax ID number issued by the Guatemalan government, and is needed at closing to pay the taxes associated with the property. I didn't have one. Learned from my mistake. So closing wouldn't take place as quick as I thought. Yessi, my agent from No Antigua, gave me a contact who handled all the application process for 200 quetzales, or about $30. I was surprised that the cost of closing, notarizing, and filing the documents through the attorney was only about $2,000. Closing costs in the U.S. can be much higher, but there are things like insurance, prorated taxes, and other costs that don't exist in Guatemala. Closing was also very simple and also different than in the U.S. Both the seller and the buyer are present together in the attorney's office. We are buying a house that's called obra gris, which means it's not finished out. We have to finish it out ourselves. I could have chosen local plumbers, electricians, carpenter, tile guys, kitchen and bath people, but opted to go with the original architects of the property who had given me a $50,000 cost to finish it out, excluding any additional upgrades I choose to have that were not included in that $50K number. Patty and Guido Echeverria are the architects, and I highly recommend them. I was expecting an informal meeting to go over details and got so much more. Very professional. They had large blueprints of the home along with a Gantt chart laying out the project schedule timeline along with what monthly costs were to wire. The building permit was still valid and they had workers in on the following Monday after we closed on Friday. They are updating me weekly with pics and I'm super happy with the progress and the professionalism of everyone so far. They are estimating a finish out of approximately December 15th, since the work remaining to be done is interior and doesn't depend upon the weather outside. Last note regarding opening a bank account. Very important. Due to the Guatemalan government trying to control money laundering in the country, it is not easy to open an account. The government requires a DPI or your national ID card in order to open a bank account. Since I don't have that, I was able to go through my agent Jessie with some of her connections. She was able to get me a temporary bank account using my passport, but I need to get that DPI as soon as possible or they can close that account. I will send a link on different options in terms of residency, if it's temporary, permanent, in order to get that DPI card.